Chase is sitting quietly. I have nothing. All right, welcome to episode 174 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, the trio of myself, Rachel.
Hello.
And Chase.
G'day.
So it's just the three of us on this one. We are not having a show next week. We're taking that week off in preparation for the Switch 2 launch, which is the week after. We are planning on having a short episode on the day of the Switch launch, where we kind of give our first hands-on impressions once we have our systems. And we'll kind of talk about it from there, and then we'll have another normally scheduled episode after that on that Friday, or that we record that Saturday, which will be out Sunday. You know what I mean? All right, so while I'm already mixing everything up, let's just jump into what we've been doing so we can get that over. Rachel, what you been doing? I know you have such a long list.
I think this is probably the shortest my list has been. Because, I've been so busy at work and everything. I haven't been playing a lot of games, and weeks before that, I have not been playing a lot of games. I think mentally, I'm saving all my gaming energy for the Switch 2 release and the sheer amount of Mario Kart that I'm going to play. It's going to be ridiculous.
I'm going to spend all friendships during Mario Kart matches. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm ruthless when Mario Kart. Everybody in the other Discord that I'm in knows this. Like, that's the way to summon me, is mention Mario Kart. But I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. Of course, I'm also excited for Donkey Kong, but that doesn't come out until like July, which I'm like, why?
Well, I mean, everybody's going to focus on Mario Kart. They're going to probably have like one big release every month or two, I think, from Nintendo directly.
At least for a little while. But
they tend to do that even now.
Mm-hmm, so. Yeah. But yeah, I'm saving my gaming energy for that. So I've been, last night I watched like the Aristocats and 101 Dalmatians because I was just like, I'm going to watch some cartoons. So I did that. I started watching
Aristocats in forever.
I love Aristocats. Abraham Dicey, like I love it. I love it.
Rachel's gonna get our show copyright strike again.
No, it's not. Such a good show, and movie, and just the animation is just so it's old, and you can tell it's old, but I like that it's old. It's just so classic.
That's one of the movies I kind of hope they don't try and do a live action remake. It just feels like a movie of its time with the animation needs to be that kind of rough drawing style.
I am purposefully not seeing the Stitch movie that just came out. I have heard things that tick me off, so they are not getting my money, nor will I watch it on streaming ever.
Okay.
Like, that was one of those movies that I'm just like, that movie is like sacred. That's something you don't touch, you don't mess with. They screwed the pooch on it. It's like when WB put out Velma and
oh god, that was such
pissed off the entire world because everybody had agreed you don't touch Scooby-Doo. You don't touch Scooby-Doo ever. And they messed it up. So
I think if they're going for a dark and messed up version, the spoof they had on the Venture Brothers, I thought was just chef's kiss.
Oh yeah,
just a fantastic take. Just take the piss out of Scooby-Doo without being
disrespectful to the source material. Exactly. And that's why I wanted them so bad to continue Mystery Incorporated, because it was dark but it was brilliant and it stayed true to the spirit of the show. But anyway,
well, to go into a fun thing, I found out this fact recently, and I just happened to remember when you mentioned Aristocats and the movies around that time. Do you know why everything had that rough sketch look design to it? I've actually found out the reason they did that at the time.
Go on.
So they skipped the inking process completely. They did the rough sketches, and then they would Xerox the pages until the lines were darkened, and they would run with that to save money at the time.
That is
why like 101 Dalmatians and Aristocats and a lot of the films at that time have that very sketch style where things are moving.
I like that. Yeah. It's a very interesting take. It's the reason why I like the older Winnie the Pooh stuff as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case for that one, but I know Aristocats was mentioned specifically.
Well, I think one of
fact.
I think one of the first ones is like that, but I could wax lyrical about like old Disney stuff because I like it a lot better. And the fact that it feels like a lot of that is like being erased makes me distinctly uncomfortable. So that's where I'm at on that. But because I'm consuming a lot of older media and I'm enjoying like just watching and reading stuff from my childhood. I'm almost done with a book actually that's I'm part of a book club kind of thing that I do in another Discord that I'm in. I don't seldom like join in with the book club stuff because a lot of times they'll read something that I have like zero interest in, and I'm like, look, if we're all reading different things and we just want to meet and shoot the breeze and talk about what we're reading, I'm fine with that. But I will very seldom join them unless they're reading something that I find to be particularly interesting. And this book that they have been doing this month, which is called Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw. And it's a Greta Helsing novel. Like, yes, Van Helsing. They took out they took out the van. But this is the first book in the series. And it is just very good. I guess I could read the back to kind of give you guys an idea of what it's about, which is meet Greta Helsing, doctor to the undead. Dr. Greta Helsing has inherited the family's highly specialized and highly peculiar medical practice. She treats the undead for a host of ills: vocal strain for banshees, arthritis in barrow wights, and entropy in mummies. It's a quiet, supernatural adjacent life until a sect of murderous monks emerges, killing humans and undead Londoners alike. As terror takes hold of the city, Greta must use her unusual skills to stop the cult if she hopes to save her practice and her life. So in it, she's friends with a lot of literary vampires who turn out to be real, like, Sir Francis Varney, Lord Ruthven, like all of that. And it kind of plays on the stereotypes of those characters and stuff like that, and kind of turns it on its head. And it's just it's very interestingly written because it is horror, it is a mystery thriller, but there's also notes of comedy in it. But the author, Vivian Shaw, like the thing that is in the back of the book that tells you a little bit about her, it made me laugh. Let me see if I can find it, because I had to send it to one of my friends. The last line, it says, she has a BA in art history and an MFA in creative writing, and she works in academic publishing and development while researching everything from history of spaceflight to supernatural physiology. But in her spare time, guys, she writes fan fiction under a particular name. And then it literally just tells you that what she does. And I'm just like, go off, girl. Go off. Like, absolutely. Like, be proud of yourself. I love that it just delighted me that she was just so open about that. Like, oh yeah, I write this. Here you go. You can read my stuff on here. Like, I'm like, oh, damn. Good for you. And then, of course, I've been going to a lot of used bookstores and thrift stores and stuff like that as well in my spare time. And I got some more board games today at the used bookstore. I was going there to find a particular book. I'm looking for the old trade paperback copy of the first novel in P.N. Elrod's Vampire Files. It's called Blood List, and I cannot find it. I'm looking, it's nowhere to be found. Like, I found it online on one like kind of used bookstore thing, but the reviews on said online used bookstores are not great. And I would love to get it from thrift books where I've had zero issues with, but they are sold out right now. They get about one copy in every 6 months, and 5 other people also have it in their wish list. So that kind of makes me sad. But when I was there, I picked up another couple of little board games that looked good. One of them is like a Mancala type board game, like that I don't remember the name of right now because the box is in my car. But it looked really cool because you can play it with up to 4 players. And this version of the game like came out in like 1962. And yeah, I know it's old. And so I grabbed it because I was like, oh, this is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen something like this before. And as a kid and growing up in the 90s and all that, I loved Mancala. Mancala was in the 90s and early 2000s. especially at like school,
No idea what
because
that is.
Mancala. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a board. It's a wooden thing, and most of them have a hinge so it closes.
Jumanji.
And no,
Well, I mean, that's what I think about when you talk about a box, like a hinge
Yeah.
with the middle.
So
Sorry.
and with it, you get those little like smooth, clear like stones that people use in like fake fish tanks, like the
Yeah.
decorative.
The pebbles, the glass
Pebbles,
Yeah.
the glass pebbles. So you use these glass pebbles, and it's a like a sowing seeds kind of thing. The original version, I think, of Mancala originated in Africa.
Okay.
And it's a game kind of like that.
So maybe I think maybe I have played a version of that on
Mhm.
some of the video game board game collections, the older ones. I think that might actually be part of Clubhouse Games, just
Yeah.
under a different or its original name.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a Mancala like game. I don't remember the name of it right now, but it looked really interesting to me. And then there was another, I think it was called, another game I got that had little tiles that was it's called Cubus something, but it's you have to flip the tiles in the correct way, and
Mhm.
you have these cards, and your tiles have to match up with this pattern, and you have to do this. You would get 3 cards, and you have to match it those 3 times, the 3 different patterns, and you can use these other cards to kind of trap other players or mess them up, so then whoever gets these patterns first wins. And then another one which I thought was interesting was connecting tracks to go on a train trip, and you use this little like dry erase marker to do that based on these dice rolls that you do. And then you, of course, you can erase the board between each game, which
Okay,
is cool.
so I did verify because I was curious.
Mhm.
It is in Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, along with 2
Nice.
variations in it. So,
Oh.
hey,
Yeah.
with the Switch 2 coming up, we could use the sharing thing and we could play it online.
Oh, you and me playing Mancala, Jeremy. That would be
There we go.
fun. But yeah, so I went to the used bookstore, and I came out with 3 board games and no books, which is about this. Usually, if I'm looking for board games, I find books. If I'm looking for books, I find board games. It's just
A
how
win's a
it
win.
works.
It still seems,
A win is a win, exactly. But then after I went to my local Asian grocer, Lottie Market. That's one of the big ones. Our H Mart is still not done yet, unfortunately. It's been under construction for like 4 or 5 years now.
oh, good Lord.
It's finally reached, I think, stage 3. Here's hoping, guys. But went there, got the sunscreen that I was looking for, because Korean sunscreen is way better than ours, guys. Way better. Yes.
I'm still gonna have the weird look on my face. Chase,
Yeah.
I saw you had the weird look on your face too. Like, really? What?
It is way better. They're UV blocking like stuff, and way less bad chemicals in it. But anyway, got the noodles I was looking for, and then treated myself to a little Thai food while I was there. And that's really all I've been doing other than work. I've just been reading, watching movies,
Okay.
reading a few magazines and stuff that I have at the house. I'm catching up on some other like comics and all of that, going to board game nights on Thursday nights. And that's it, guys.
Okay. Chase, what about you? What you been doing?
Bit of a light week. So Shano and I recently purchased the DLC for Solasta, so we got back into that because
Nice.
one of the DLCs has basically a sequel campaign to the one we just finished. And then our actual D&D campaign has finally got kind of kicked back off because we had a little while there where people were on vacation and stuff, and we couldn't really get it to work. So now we're back into the swing of things again. So that's been fun. And then been in my free time a little bit of Doom the Dark Ages, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, that'll be definitely a little group chat. I have a little bit of a personal one I'll talk about with that one, but so I'll go and jump into mine. First off, I finally managed to find this recently because we joked about the fact and you can see everybody's reflection in the screen. Look, there's Chase. He's drinking his drink. And then there's Rich. So you guys know what I see. but I've been abusing that discount I currently have at my super temporary lightweight GameStop job. But I found this Zelda Edition 2DS, which I did not have for my collection. So I'm only missing very few. I think there was a silver DS that was released for Phantom Hourglass, but that was the European version. I have the gold US one, but I don't know if I'm going to deal with the UK one, if I'm going to find that. But then there was also a Game Boy Advance SP that had the Triforce on it, and I'm trying to find that. That I think was UK only.
There was a PSP with the Triforce.
No. SP, Game Boy Advance SP.
I was about to be like, wait a minute, I only caught half that. And I went, wait a minute.
I'm sure somebody's modded a PSP to have
probably.
A Triforce. Yeah, you know they have. It's probably full of pictures of naked people. It's like every PSP that got traded in was full of pictures of naked people. Like, you guys remember to take these off before you trade this stuff in? And as Rachel and I both know, horribly, they did not remember. Ever.
I am proud to say that every time I got like a every time I got like a console, like a GameStop like used console, even especially when I was working there, like I would do the trade like either before I got in or on my lunch break or something, and then I would make sure the transfer went through during my shift, while doing all that and making sure everything transferred correctly, because like my ambassador thing is on my new 3DS XL. Like, it's on there.
Like people would bring in PSPs, you remember back in the day, and they would just have naked people and all kinds of stuff on there, and they would just completely forget and be like, I'm just trading this PSP in, and we go to check it to clear it, and we're just like, what the hell?
Oh, my background was a picture of the Visual K rock band from in the 90s in Japan called Malice Miser. So
fair enough. Yeah, I mean, people have wallpapers, but some people got weird with it.
Oh yeah, really weird. You could also put music on there too.
Oh, there's an MP3 player for a lot of people for a while. I even had the headphone connector that had the controls, so I could just put it in my pocket and control the music.
Yep.
So the PSP was a good MP3 player.
Versatile, very versatile.
Yeah. So also, I was able to finally get a Nintendo Switch Online GameCube controller because the second run of those popped up, and Steven was so kind as to send me a message immediately reminding me. So I have that on the way.
He's so good about that, looking out for us.
He is. We joke about it all the time. I will go post something and find out he posted it literally like 30 seconds before, and I'm like,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's just on it.
He's on it like all the time. He's just on it. I'm excited for the Date Everything game because I ordered that on Amazon. I pre-ordered that. I pre-ordered that on Amazon. Yeah.
Yep. So the other thing, as Chase said, we're going to talk about Doom: The Dark Ages here in a moment, but my specific little argument I had was I've had the weirdest time playing this game on PC. We joked about the fact it took, like the night it came out, I went ahead and bought it. I had it installed on my Series X immediately, was able to play it. It was fine. But I went ahead and I tried to put it on my PC. And that's when, we talked about it before, where it's like, all right, update the driver on the graphics card. All right, that's fine. Update the BIOS on your motherboard. And I was like, what the hell? That's a new one. Being game specific requirement. I've never seen that happen. And it just kept going through stuff. I eventually got it and it runs great. But then I wanted to try it on my Legion Go to see how does it run on this handheld PC, because it does have basic ray tracing, so it should be able to run it. I spent an entire lunch at work trying to get it to install correctly after I did it. There was all kinds of problems with AMD with their drivers for having to install stuff, and I had to get a different version of the drivers and side load it in there and then go into the BIOS and eventually change the memory requirements. Like, so many steps. And I'm like looking at my Switch going, yeah, I just put a cartridge in you, hit the button, and I'm in. This is why I prefer consoles. And that pissed a lot of people off, which is really funny. I love one person's response going like, oh, you just don't know how computers work. Like, you kids have no idea. And I'm like, dude, I'm a 45-year-old electronics engineer. I was there before you were even aware of this shit. It's just, I get it. It's like having like, hot rods and really, that kind of car. They're nice, but they are intense for having to work on stuff. Like, you have to tweak them and spend all that time. And I'm glad you enjoy it, but sometimes you just want to get in your car and go get McDonald's. Like, you don't want to have to fight with it and be like, all right, we got to prime the engine and do this before we can get it going to go and get this. You know, so there's ups and downs to it. But apparently it pissed a bunch of people off with that, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, people get defensive about all that stuff anyway, because like people got defensive. I had an issue once where I made a post about how like it annoyed me with like, because people have heard me on here talk about like keyboard and mouse controls before. Say like, we've got consoles that natively support it now. Like, why can't developers like give console players the option if they want, especially on games where it makes sense, like RTS.
We have news later today you're gonna like.
Yeah, well, like RTSs and
makes sense.
Even like some RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3 and some of these other things where objectively like it might be some people might appreciate having that option to control them that way.
I think it'd be an accessibility thing too for some people.
Yeah, but like for some reason developers just don't want to do it with like console games, even though they're making a PC version of the game anyway. So it's not like they don't have something that they can work off of, which I just find a little odd. And like I literally get people that are like, just get a PC, stupid fuck. And it's just like, I can't afford a PC, you stupid fuck. Cool.
Baldur's Gate is one of the weird ones because that whole mode is in the game. You can do turn-based and move the icon around. You just want to have a mouse to do it, which I get. And that is kind of a weird one.
Oh, it's just like the PC UI too, like selecting your spells and stuff like that. It just, because like Shanoa played it on PC first, and then she got the PS5 version so she could play with me at the time. And like on the PC version, like where she could just like say, I want to use this spell, and then just move the mouse to say where she wanted to do it stuff. I was like, man, that does look kind of nice actually, it's a little bit cleaner than like cycling through all the discs to try to find what you're looking for. In a way, right. Like I think they did well with the controller, controls. So like, I'm not saying that they did a shit job or anything.
Yeah, they did a better job than some people have.
Oh yeah.
Rachel, you're gonna say something?
I was thinking about it the other day because I have a PC. My PC is now 3 years old.
It's basically dust. It's useless.
Listen, my PC that I had before this one lasted 7.5 years.
Oh, my old 1070 Ti is still rocking in my room. I use it for like just doing documentation and stuff in there. I maybe play some like retro style games or indie games on it, but it's still usable for things.
Yeah. But like I used it until it died. Like the motherboard crapped out on it. 7.5 years. It didn't even have I was rocking the onboard graphics. Like it was the Ferrari of motherboards. This thing ran like, one of my friends was like, I don't know how this is possible, but it's good is what they said. And I said, I don't know. One person told me it was the Ferrari of motherboards. And I have described it as that ever since, and I have not seen another motherboard like it. So I was very, very fortunate. But there's just something about like people who are primarily PC gamers that they are so easily insulted. Like they they get their feelings hurt so easy, and I'm just like. And literally, then they get really bent out of shape, and I'm like, guys, my god!
Yeah, I will say there are people in the PC community that are really into like the hobby, not in a way of like being offended, but like they want to get people into it to teach them how to build things, and they find enjoyment. And I'm like, that's great,
and that's great. Just don't be mean about it.
It should be, yeah. And a lot of them aren't. I know these are specifically people trying to say shit to piss me off, and I'm just laughing my ass off about it, like. That's great.
There's always going to be trolls. Like,
there's
a lot of people. There's a lot of people on the console side too that are just as big as dicks.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's just.
But I was like, this is just a personal thing, and I did eventually get Doom running on there, and they were just like, oh, your problems. You're playing on a Legion Go. Get a real PC, and I'm like, people buy these things, and it says it can run it. I want to see how it runs. It's terrible, by the way. It's like I think I was getting like 25 to maybe 30 FPS. Sometimes felt even slower. Like you could mess with it, but I might tweak it later, but I 100% did it just to be like, can I? What'll it do? Otherwise I just sit on the couch, played on my Series X or my PC, and I'm great. So who knows? But speaking of Doom, let's jump over to the group chat real quick.
y'all have fun talking about this one because I haven't played it at all, and all I have done is watched two friends play it on stream. So
Nice.
enjoy.
So Chase, I have to ask. I've made it to chapter 11. How far are you? Because I will say one thing. It's not really a super spoiler, but I know at the beginning of chapter 10, I love the fact that it boots up to just an all black screen, and in big Gothic red letters, all it says is hell. And I was like, oh, okay, this is getting interesting.
So I got to there.
Okay, cool.
I got to
because it's definitely ramping up with intensity. Like I had to go to the forge and restart this giant heart.
Yeah, so I've done that.
Okay,
and then I went to hell and got to the fortress.
Yeah,
I can't remember what the name of the. And then what's the last thing that you remember doing? I guess that's
the very last thing I did was get the power supply for the giant mech suit and crank it up, and then I stopped for the night. So that'll be the next thing I play. I'm guessing is me using that suit in the next level, probably chapter 12.
Okay, so I think I'm slightly ahead of you because I think I'm like 14.
That's fine because I was way ahead of you guys last time, and I was like,
Okay, yeah, that's why I just wanted to be safe, so that way we're not like.
But
whoa.
That's good though that you're there, because what I wanted to ask, I remember last week we talked about this, and you were kind of iffy about the game. Not like saying you didn't like it, but you were like the feel of it and how else. And I was like, hey, it does kind of pick up, it does change, especially after I think chapter 6, when it starts getting to more what I call like original Doom style big maps that you're going into areas and having big face-offs. Which kind of gets crazy. Has your opinion on that changed at all? Like, are you liking it a little better or hating it? I don't know.
I definitely like it. Like, it's definitely an enjoyable game. Excuse me. It's kind of odd though, because
okay.
So it wasn't necessarily. So I was kind of like having the opinion of this, and then there's a YouTuber that I really like from Australia called G-Man Lives, and he kind of reinforced this a little bit, because when he said it, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. At least I'm not the only person thinks this way. I just found it odd because Doom Eternal, there was the issue with the grappling hook. People kind of didn't like the fact that they felt that you kind of had to use the grappling hook. And and so it was kind of like, okay. So then it's kind of just decided to double down on the fact that you need to use a mechanic by saying you have to use the shield. Hope you like it type thing. And I was like, which it's okay. Like the shield's all right. Although it is, that in and of itself is quite interesting because it's kind of such a different take on the Doom series, because Doom's usually always been about moving around and avoiding damage, whereas this is, no, you're staying in place and you're absorbing damage, so to speak.
I've been playing it where I'm still doing the movement. I'm still strafing left and right, dodging around stuff, and then using the shield to reflect back to give me openings to kind of push to get in there in groups. And I've caught myself having to really strategize of like, okay, this guy's the priority. I got to take them out. And once I have them, that opens up to do this. I need to switch to this weapon because, the electric one will arc and cover these groups. Or if I see a group that I can get their shield glowing, I'll draw a bigger enemy towards them, then hit them with the shield, and the explosion shrapnels them some and helps me out. So it gets really strategic. And that's kind of what reminds me of like Doom and Doom 2. Because you didn't have the shield and stuff, but I play it very similarly when I'm going through it. And I guess that's just kind of a difference in the feeling of what I'm getting with that, because the shield, I don't really use it to block that much. It feels like it goes down too fast. So I'll use it when I have to for a couple shots, but it's mostly I'll reach out and touch someone. Like if you're shooting me too much and I want to shut you up for a second, I'll stick the shield in somebody, let them sit there and have it grind while I'm focusing on someone else.
So that shield is like an amazing CC mechanic. So I use it all the time, especially on like the arachnotrons. Is that what they're called?
Oh yeah, no, you break down their armor and you will just rock their world with that shield.
Yeah, I use that all the time. I'm actually curious. What's your favorite weapons in the game so far?
God, I was going back and forth on a few of them. I mean, I'm always a classic shotgun guy, and I like the burning with the shotgun where you can set things on fire. But the double barrel energy gun has become a favorite, especially now that I can start electrocuting things and it arcs around to other stuff.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
become
the
great
cycler,
because
yeah.
it'll catch things as they fly by. So even then, it'll kind of put them off. So that's become my go-to. I'm trying to explore more of the weapons, um, but I like the fact that your last two weapons you can switch back and forth by hitting the right bumper.
Mm.
So if I know I'm going into a battle, I might set that, the electric gun up as my main, and then have the rocket launcher or the grenade launcher as a secondary, so I can kind of tase, shock, and then hit with some heavies once I break their armor, to try and get them whittled down.
Yeah, so for me, I think the Impaler is my favorite.
I'm trying to get better with that one. It is fun watching something just get impaled to the wall.
Because the other thing I like about the game too is because there's two weapons in every class, so you can actually just hit the X button to just swap the class, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if you have the Impaler and you want the other one, I can't remember what it's called, the basically the machine gun.
It's almost like like their version
yeah.
of the Needler or something. Yeah.
Like Spitter or whatever they call it, Thorn Spitter,
Shredder,
Barb
maybe?
Spitter. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That one's quite but the Impaler to me is like my go-to. Like I use that for everything. It just shreds. And especially because I've got it set up in this way to where like if you use the shield to like kill some fodder, it gives you an ammo pickup, which then makes your Impaler, the next bolt you shoot, like over like charged up and like more powerful. And then if you get a headshot with the Impaler, then it gives you another ammo pickup, which then makes that bolt like super powerful. So then it's like you could just sit there and like just absolutely decimate people with that thing. It's so good.
The two oddball weapons I do enjoy. I'm curious if they're going to get secondary versions as well, but that's the one that shreds the skull and shoots it out. I have that one set where if I do a takedown kill, it charges the skull and just like starts ripping out powerful shots, and I can start tearing through groups a little bit easier. And then I want to see if that gets some kind of alternate version. And then there's the one that fires the cannonball on a chain. If you do that,
chain shot's stupid good.
There's a couple of the Hell Knights. They'll come jumping at me, and I'll have just gotten a charge shot, and I'll just shoot them in the face out of the sky, and they just explode. And you're just like, all right, cool.
The thing gets even better once you upgrade it, because
I've upgraded a few times. Yeah, it explodes when it hits now.
Yeah, so the upgrade that I use that just to me makes it like even better is if you parry an attack, then it's just automatically charged, full charge.
I've used that a lot.
This is like ridiculous.
I put that one as my secondary sometimes if I know it's gonna be a little bit more up close. I'll do that over the rocket launcher or grenade launcher as my secondary, because if I do that dodge, it'll charge it, switch over, and just hit them.
The gun that I find myself using the least is a super shotgun.
I use it up close if I'm trying to take the arms, because you can delimb particular characters and make them just walk around. They can't even kick you. Like they just walk around. They do nothing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll do that, and once they're neutered, I'm like, okay, I can focus on other shit now. I got to run away. But yeah, it eats through ammo like crazy.
And
it's still fitting. It's there. It's like one of those things, like a Zelda game has to have a bow and arrow, whether you like it or not. It needs to be there.
The problem is with Doom, and I just don't know. Like, I mean, they might make some changes or whatever, but I feel like with this one, I feel like the weapon balancing is a little bit off with some stuff. Because, like, for instance, the super shotgun versus the regular combat shotgun, I think I would always choose the regular combat shotgun because you get the burst fire and you can light them on fire to give you ammo pickups. So it's like
you can kind of get that when you level up the super shotgun with some stuff too, though. Like
if it doesn't absolutely just fuck whatever you're shooting.
It's good for the bigger ones, like
like the cyber demons and stuff.
The cyber demons. I can't remember the name of it. There's the one that shields itself, the hunter that comes for you. He'll shield himself and then does the jump attacks. That one's kind of crazy. There's the big the big winged demon that I saw him the first time. I was like, oh hell. And then I realized you could blow his arm off and go from there. And I was like, okay, I'm not as worried about you now. The other one's just a lot of quick movements, dodging, and then using your environment to kind of cut off his attacks. And then also rushing him so he'll be forced into the blockable attacks.
Yeah.
We're turning this into an entire Doom strategy thing. Rachel's just like, I'm just texting people. And these guys are just going on. Maybe they'll write a book about it, Rachel. They have done Doom comic books. You never know.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be my thing, but you know.
I think by the time we're done with this, Chase, this is another one I would love for you and I to have an actual like episode on.
Yeah,
especially because
sure.
we've played all three of the newer Dooms, and I like that each one is different. I'm glad they're not the same because I can go back to any of them, and they have their unique feel for what I want. If I want something super fast and jumping around, I have Doom Eternal. If I just want to feel like a badass and just tear through, traditionally, I've got Doom 2016. If I want to be a fucking tank and take on masses, we have Doom the Dark Ages, and then they have, survival horrors, Doom 3, Doom 1 and 2 are the classics, things like that. So they all feel like they kind of fit together as one big puzzle instead of this is a new trilogy replacing the old ones, That's
I'm
at least
enjoying
nice.
it. Like, I'm enjoying the game.
Yeah. I get you on the mechanics. I mean, it's not gonna click for everybody on everything. I mean, there's gonna be certain things you're just kind of like I keep finding myself, if you try and jump multiple times, like I'm that idiot in shooters that I'm like hopping along. I blame Halo for that shit.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I blame Quake 3 Arena for that because I used to play it competitively, and you had to move all the time or you're gonna die. But this one, you'll jump and he'll smash, and you jump again, and it almost feels like he stumbles, like it's like it just can't do it because there's no double jump. There's no verticality to that.
His mobility is definitely like
he's much heavier, which I mean, even as in Tails, you can just drop down on anything and like just take out a whole group by just landing in the middle of them, which is
like
fun.
that. I like that little like add a flavor that they did where like sometimes you'll drop down, there'll just be like a ton of fodder demons around you. They just all die. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's.
I like
cool.
They do refer to them as fodder. It's just straight up. They just call them fodder. So yeah, definitely look forward to an extra quarter about Doom, probably with Chase and I. So that'll be a fun one.
Swan's played it too, so he'll probably jump in.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely down to have more of us on there. That'd be cool. I need to know kind of like his excitement for Doom as a series. I think you and I have really enjoyed it over our lives. I'm not 100% sure on Steve. He may be just as much into it, and I'm just not aware of it as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, possible.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? People love all kinds of stuff. So, all right, we'll go ahead and move on to the news.
Jinkies.
Thank you, Chase. We were going to miss that. I was thinking about editing in him saying it somewhere randomly, but you've solved it for me.
It should be a soundbite, actually, like him just doing that.
It should be,
Jinkies.
And I keep joking. We haven't used ours in a while.
No.
Like the actual sound effects. Because, I mean, we still have,
corporate greed. Very important one, that one.
We haven't used this. Actually, you know what? We probably can use it today.
We actually probably can. You are right.
There's a very high possibility of that being used could be used in any of our...
And we have a couple stories. A lot of corporate greed this week. So this one is not corporate greed. This one's actually kind of good news. Lost in Cult, the makers of the DesignWorks art book series, has started a video game publishing label. They say it may take a while for them to be ready for monthly releases, but they are starting off with 2 titles for the Nintendo Switch 2, or the Nintendo Switch to begin with. Sorry, Switch 1, not Switch 2. They're doing Thank Goodness You're Here, which I know is a game that, Rachel, you have played, and you suggested I should play it, and you wanted me to stream it when I played it.
Absolutely should, because it's the most hilarious thing I've ever played in my entire life.
And I believe I did get it. I just need to find a time to be able to play it and stream it. And then the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. I'm not familiar with this.
I tried to look that up, and I was at work at the time, so I didn't get a lot out of it. So I'm going to look that up now and see what that is about.
Okay, well, I'll talk about the other stuff while you're doing that. But
yeah.
So they've been markedly clear when they made their announcements that they will not use keycard carts, stating that, quote, "It goes without saying, game keycards don't sit right with us and don't fit into our ethos of games being fully uncart for future use." Okay, that kind of makes
Oh.
sense. I mean, that's the point.
Okay,
Go ahead,
so
Rachel.
Steven's gonna want this game.
Steven wants every game. He's just as bad as I am.
No, listen, if he doesn't already have this, he's gonna want it because it is a folk horror point and click adventure game.
Oh, he's in. That boy loves.
I might have to order this myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I don't know, maybe. Maybe not for Switch. I mean, it's only $15 on Steam. So
That's not bad. I'm hoping with Switch 2 with the new mouse that we have a renaissance of point and clicks. Like that would just be fantastic.
Oh, I think there's going to be a collection of point and clicks.
I hope so. So they did state about the higher cost of full carts. They stated, quote, "We're learning about things at the same time as most people reading this are. But if it turns out that the cost of normal cartridges are significantly higher, I think most collectors would agree with us that if it's still the preferable option over empty carts." So, obviously if they're doing this kind of like limited run and some of the other ones are, yeah, you're going to have the cartridge on there. That's the game on the cartridge. That's kind of the point, you buy a Criterion Collection movie, you want the best version and all this stuff with that movie. You're not just buying the basic release of it. There's a reason for that collection. So my only worry is there's so many different publishing houses popping up that it's been very hit or miss, and depending on where the games go, kind of hard to keep up with. So hopefully this works out. I saw some stuff about it. They're also going to have store releases for certain things. So if you can't get these collector's editions, there might be a smaller edition you can get in a store possibly. So, all right, let's move on to the next little bit here. So speaking of limited run games has also made an announcement in regards to the Switch 2 and keycard use. They confirmed that any numbered limited run release will be complete on cart, but partnered releases are up to the publishers themselves. So I've kind of run into this recently for a while. Limited run, when they release a game on their own stuff, they're numbered. If you say limited run number, 5, it's a particular game. I think they're like 100 or something at this point. It's gotten ridiculous. But published ones that they're working with or collaborations, they're not numbered. So it used to be like they would not come with the cards, the collectible cards, before they stopped doing those or other things. But if a publisher is going through them, they could potentially release one as a key card. So hopefully they don't do stuff with Sega, because that seems to be what they like to do. But at least they're going to be clear on that. And I'd rather them be honest about it. Like at that point, it really isn't up to them. They're just working with it and the publisher does it. So it's not a limited run kind of giving in type thing. Whatever they're doing will be on cart as it has been. So that's good. Now, the fun thing is they updated their statement and said that they expect some of their future releases to be dual cartridges that are compatible with both Switch and Switch 2, but can't promise that will always be the case.
That's interesting.
I kind of like that, because that gives hope that maybe if there is a, say they do a release and it's a key card or a digital only title, they might be able to release it and have both versions on that one cartridge, because you can put a Switch 2 cart in a Switch 1. And we've already seen a couple instances where the Switch 1 version of the game will start up, which is great. I think that's a good thing to have. I kind of wish Nintendo would do that more themselves, because they seem to be hinting like Metroid Prime 4 is going to be separate cartridges. And I wish they would just release one and just have it be for both. That would have been great, to just pop it into either system and get that version on the cart. So hopefully that'll be the case. I mean, we shall see.
You think this keycard thing's maybe getting like more divisive than it actually needs to be?
Oh, it is. I mean, I literally had the debate with someone who swore up and down. I was talking to them in GameStop. They were in line checking out, refusing to buy a Switch 2 because they were like, it's so anti-consumer. The games aren't even on the cartridge. Like, I want to have this. And, they were buying Doom, the Dark Ages, while saying this, which has literally only megabytes of data on it. You have to download almost 90 gigs to get Doom on there, which is why I said, screw it, and just bought it digitally. I was like, what's the point? It's like with Indiana Jones. They did the same thing. Yeah. It's not on the disc. Even on PS5, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I feel like it's gotten so divisive for like no reason. It's like all these companies are coming out and like making a statement on it. And it's just like, I just don't even necessarily see the point. Like,
I get it with like companies like Lost in Cult and Limited Run. The intent is to be complete on the game, on physical media.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a preservation thing. So it would be important for them to tell people, hey, we're not using the key cards for our main releases.
And
Limited Run it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Limited Run for the most part. Like, I mean, they are going to be like, hey, their stuff, their numbered stuff is. But if it's partnered, up in the air. But also, like,
at least they were honest about it, though.
So the game key card thing, there's like, you know, it's to give, in some respects, it is to give certain developers an out, because production on actual game carts and the size, like the actual like memory that exists on the game cart, they are more expensive. So compound that by however many that they are expected to produce, because they're gonna order so many of them and produce so many of them. Compound that with like however many they're going to produce, whatever the cost is, it is going to cost them more to physically make the game.
I kind of wonder, and let me just ask you guys this though. Should in some of these cases they just make it digital? Because we've got the ability now, at least with family groups, that you can share the game. So it's not like they have...
I think it's a weird middle ground. Like it's supposed to be a middle ground. It's giving developers an out. It's a weird middle ground that is maybe a little more comfortable for people, you know, that like physical media.
It's the grayest of gray areas.
It's the grayest of gray areas. And this is coming from like just talking to people that are in the industry and stuff like that, and interpretations of stuff that I've gotten from them.
Right.
And it's a cost saving measure, and it's also it's a middle ground. Now developers can either choose to take this path or not. It is completely up to them. So I think for a lot of the companies that have a lot of money, like Nintendo, yeah, and Nintendo specifically, that all of their games are going to be on cart. It would be very unusual if it wasn't. But a lot of these little developers, it takes it putting a game all on cart for the Switch 2 could possibly cost them a lot of money. So
yeah, there's been some cases where I'm like, it feels like I kind of wish Sega had done it with Yakuza. I think Yakuza Year Zero could have been all on the cartridge, because they could have fit it on the 64 gig.
I think it was also a timing thing. Like, oh, if we're expected to get this out real quick,
maybe. I also think, and Steven and I have talked about this before, I think we mentioned on the show before as well, there's a lot of talk that right now the people making the cartridges for the Switch 2, the people, you know, that format, only have a 64 gig right now.
Yes.
So maybe over time we'll get 32, 16 gig or even bigger, you know, smaller and bigger.
And this is also a good testing feature too for developers to see if, like, especially like Sega, them putting Yakuza 0 out.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good testing thing to see if the game will even sell well on the system. And if it does, maybe they'll do a Yakuza collection or something in the future and use that 64 gig cart. But there's multiple avenues and multiple like ways that developers and companies can use this option. So I think it is good that Limited Run and other Lost in Cult are doing all on cart, at least for Limited Run, with, you know, what they can say that they will put all on cart.
I think for them, they have to, like, you have to trust that it's going to be what they're saying when you buy these things.
And I think it's good that there are some other options. We know Nintendo's going to. We know really big name companies with a lot of money who know that their fans would have issue if it wasn't CD Projekt Red.
You got ones that don't care, like Sega, Capcom, and Square.
Yeah, they don't care because they're
people are going to buy it. Let's be honest.
People are going to buy it, and they're a very profit-minded business.
We're our own problem.
Yeah, they're very profit minded. Now that's not to say they don't care about their fans, but they know the fans are going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm
but
buying two key card games day one. I know I'm
I
a
don't.
problem.
What games are they?
I'm getting Street Fighter 6,
Oh.
which I already knew was gonna be a key card because the game is they're adding a new character like the day it comes out. Like so
Mm.
they're not even complete on that.
Mm.
And then Yakuza. I'm getting that as well because we're looking forward to all of us playing that on the multiplayer.
Only thing I'm getting on launch, I think, is Mario Kart.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on our
yeah,
big question this week. But Chase, do you have any thoughts on this for the limited run and stuff like that? For these kind of releases?
No, I mean they came out and they said what they probably needed to say because, like I said, I just feel like these keycard things just been so divisive amongst people. Like, get the game if you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, just play the damn thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of leaking a bit into what I was going to cover partially in the speed run, but it was announced that and shown the key card cartridges themselves have a key icon on them now. So even if you just find a cartridge later and buy that, like say you're just getting a used game, it has that key on there. You can see it and go, oh, okay, expect this to be a game I have to download. So I got to give Nintendo credit. They're at least going like, look, we're putting it on the box. We're putting it on the damn cartridge. If you don't know, that's on you at that point.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, Chase, you ready for some Warhammer?
Brother.
So much Warhammer. Rejoice, brothers.
Brother.
All right, so we have a bunch of stuff that's now starting off with the most interesting for me. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine Master Crafted Edition is coming out June 10th. Only on Xbox, PC, and Game Pass for $39.99.
I wonder why it's only on. I wonder how come PlayStation got left out of this.
Oh, the reactions to this have been hilarious because they're talking about like, Doom, everybody should have it. It's just right. All of a sudden the game is not coming to PlayStation and they're like, this is the worst thing. It's so egregious. Are you guys going to put your games on Xbox? Hell no. That's not going to work. We're not going to do that. It's like,
well, no, I'm just like curious as to I'm just curious as to the decision making behind that.
I don't know. We do know the list of improvements for this. It's going to have higher fidelity and improved textures, 4K resolution. They've improved the character models, so I have a feeling they're probably using some from Space Marine 2. Modernize the control scheme and interface overhaul, which I saw that's a lot of the stuff from Space Marine 2 as well, which is a good improvement. And then remastered the audio, which, if you remember, this was an Xbox 360 game back in the day. So, which is great. I was thinking about trying to play it again recently, and I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to wait now. But all the content from the original game, including every bit of DLC, will be included. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
this game was fantastic. I recommend that anybody that hasn't played it, for whatever reason, if you enjoy Warhammer 40K, or if you got Space Marine 2 just because you were like looking for a game to play, you really loved it, play this. This is how it all started. People waited, over a decade for the sequel after playing this. This game's awesome. I absolutely love it. So who's making it? Do you remember by chance? Like, who's the one working on it?
I think it is being made by the original publishers, but let me take a look real quick.
It can't be because that was THQ.
Touche.
THQ.
Oh man.
So I'm assuming Nordic must have something to do with it, because isn't it THQ Nordic now?
I think they're part of it, and that's what I'm trying to look and see here. I don't know why I completely missed earlier who was publishing it. I feel like an idiot for that one.
No, I'm just actually curious.
Well, I want to know also, is this going to have any kind of co-op? Because I'm trying to remember if the original, I know it had multiplayer, and that is coming back, but I don't remember if this one
had a horde mode. I think I had a multiplayer horde mode, which now Space Marine 2 I think is getting. So we're gonna have to jump back into that sometime.
Oh, okay. So Sega is helping publish it. Saber Interactive revealed to be developed the sequel for publisher Focus Entertainment. Is that talking about Space Marine? Yeah, remastered. So interesting. It's a nice little group of people here.
Well, Sega owns Focus, don't they?
I think so. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's Relic, because I'm looking at the trailer, and it's got Sega, Relic Interactive, and of course, like the people that own the rights to Warhammer itself are on there.
Not Focus. They own Relic.
Right. Relic is helping to work on it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense because Relic does a lot of work with, or they've done a lot of work with 40K IP in the past. Actually, I think they were the ones that worked on. Just check.
So apparently it's, and I don't know why, because I agree, it's kind of weird having the back and forth. Like I was laughing more at the reactions because everyone's just like,
yeah, fair enough.
If we get it on PlayStation, but it doesn't go to Xbox, that's right. This is the better selling system. But if it's the reverse, they are just freaking the fuck out going, that's not fair. We should have this. And it's Sega making that choice. They're the ones publishing it. So for whatever reason, Sega said no.
And it came out on the PlayStation because it came out on the PS3 and the 360.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just like, seems kind of odd that they've made this choice. But I mean, because like whatever. I got Game Pass. I'm playing it.
It's $40. I'm just going to get, because they have not announced a physical release at all.
Right.
I have a feeling this might be digital only, and I might just go ahead and pick it up. I mean, screw it. But I'm definitely excited. But yeah. So June 10th, we'll be playing that. That's coming out a couple days after, the Switch too. So, God, that'd be hilarious. I think at this point they could just announce it for Switch 2. That'd be kind of funny. So
that'd actually be cool.
Yeah.
Switch 2 would be able to handle it pretty. I mean, it's an old game, so
even with the enhancements, it wouldn't be in 4K anymore and stuff like that, but they could easily do it. All right, let's move on to our next little bit of Warhammer news. So Warhammer 40K Boltgun 2 was revealed for PC, PS5, Xbox Series, coming in 2026. Still has that awesome chunky pixel 3D art style that I love, that was in the first game. And it just feels like if we had kept upgrading a 90s style Doom engine, like this is what it would look like in modern day. I need to play Boltgun 1 some more. It looked very, very 90s.
Oh yeah. It was definitely going for that like old like Doom / Quake style. The old boomer shooter, as some people call it.
Yes, I keep forgetting what that term was. Because it's kind of a mix of the terms. When they call it a boomer shooter, they're like, okay, it's explosive and so forth, but it's also old people's shooter. And I'm like, you bastards. Using boomer like that. We're not that old. All right, on to the next little bit here. Warhammer 40K Darktide is getting the Arbites class on June 23rd in an update. New weapons will be added, and your character will have a Cyber Mastiff with you, which the trailer looked kind of neat, but I could not find anything, be it on their website, on the trailer, on the store page on Steam, or anything that said if this is a paid DLC or a free update. It kind of feels like as much paid DLC as they put in Warhammer games, it should be that, but I could not find a cost anywhere, which is weird, especially because it's coming out for this soon. Yeah, it's all cinematic, no gameplay.
Yeah.
It looks great, but it's just kind of giving you here's the guy, here's your dog, here's a situation. That's kind of how it goes. But I mean, we need to get back and play some more Darktide. We were having fun with it, but I'm always down to get more characters. Why not?
That game is so fun with friends. And just it definitely gives me the old Left 4 Dead vibes again. It's one of the few games that's actually been able to do it. Because of the chunky melee combat and all that. Swan is just in 7th heaven. As soon as there's just a mob of enemies surrounding him, he's just yes.
We all get oddly into it too. It's open the door, brother.
Yep.
Rachel, if you heard us how we talk to each other playing this game, you would just be like, you idiots.
I probably would.
She says that every episode when she hears us talking about her what? With love.
Yeah, y'all just go on with your Warhammers and your Doom and your stuff like that, and listen.
It's a violent episode.
So someone tried to get me into Warhammer, and I was just like, okay,
Yeah,
I
that
want to
I'm
get.
not. Oh,
I
go
want to
ahead.
get the hobby so bad, but I
Can
don't
you
have the
afford
money.
it?
it's ridiculously
Yeah, I don't
expensive, is
have
what
the
I've been
money.
told.
It is, and it's a rabbit hole.
Yep.
Oh, it's definitely a rabbit hole. I've seen the cost of some of these, and I was like, okay. Thankfully, my kid went into mech in BattleTech, and I'm like, that's expensive, but not Warhammer expensive.
Yeah.
I can afford to still feed us and do things with this amount. So, oh man. All right, on to the last little bit here. So currently, for those listening to the show in the first week, there's a Warhammer sale going on until June 5th with a pretty much the whole collection on sale. But the reason I wanted to bring it up, this includes a free to play game you can get, not buy, but get on Steam right now called Boltgun Words of Vengeance. Which, Rachel, I think this might be one you would actually like because it is a modern take on like Typing of the Dead gameplay twist with the original bolt gun. So it's going through shooting and doing stuff, but you're having to type out the words. And if you ever played Typing of the Dead back on Dreamcast or on PC, it's oddly fun. Like, so I'm looking forward to this. You want to play this on a computer with an actual keyboard. Probably it'll run great on like a Legion Go, but not going to work so well for typing. Trying to use that touchscreen would be a freaking nightmare. Go ahead, Chase.
So I think also I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure also for RTS fans, Dawn of War, Warhammer 40K Dawn of War Definitive Edition also got announced.
Oh.
And if you enjoy RTSs, that's a really good one. Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2 are both like really, really good. I really enjoyed Dawn of War 2.
I think I have those on PC actually, because that might have been some of the first Warhammer I ever got into was messing with that.
Dawn of War 1 is like kind of like your typical RTS where it's like large scale armies and stuff.
Yeah.
But Dawn of War 2 was you had just took control of like a couple of squads and you move them around and try to position them properly and stuff. It was really fun.
I think that was during the time I was like really into RTSs, and of course was playing like StarCraft 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Some Warhammer, like I was playing, the Warhammer games. Star Trek Armada 1 and 2, if you ever played those, are really good tactical RTS games with ships. It just works really well. So, all right. Let's see if we can get something that Rachel will want to talk with us about. So let's move out of Warhammer into some retro GamePass.
Yay.
So GamePass has been expanded with the May update by adding the retro classics to the service through a collaboration between Xbox and Antstream Arcade. 50 plus classic like Activision games from the 80s and 90s were added, available on Xbox and PC, or you can stream it. A range of titles over systems from the Atari 2600, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, DOS, and more are available. So in their announcement, they stated, this launch is just the beginning. Game Pass members, including just the base level, as I found out today, can look forward to discovering additional games added from Activision and Blizzard, expanding the Retro Classics collection to more than 100 plus titles over time. But there's a possible darker note of this, and Steven mentioned some of this beforehand just to let us know, but I found some people are noting issues with the games, showing signs that they may be using their AI tools to try and enhance or make the games playable. Remember recently we talked about Microsoft using AI as a means to bring back retro games to be playable on new systems, and they had that absolutely terrifying AI experiment of trying to create Quake in real time that was just a freaking mess. But this is making some of the games not quite playable, to the point something like Zork, which is a straight up text only adventure game, having serious issues being playable because the scaling is making the words hard to read or not even displaying it all properly. There's no word yet if this is actually the case or if it's just people complaining because they're streaming the games and they're just getting really shitty signal with it. Like it's just not streaming properly, which can happen. Steven was saying that Willie Beamish on the Xbox Retro Classics is unplayable as the whole thing flickers and has tons of artifacting. So that is not a good sign when Steven's saying it's not running right. Because these are really old games. They should run beautifully. So, Chase, have you messed around with this at all? Or
I haven't touched it yet. I'll have to look into it.
Like I said, because I found out it's any Game Pass. Even just like I have the basic Game Pass, which is just basically Xbox Live, Xbox Gold, as they used to call it. I was kind of curious and pulled up the Xbox app while we were setting up the show, and it let me install it and start playing a game. I was like, oh crap, I have access. I thought it was like one of the higher Game Pass tiers you had to have, so I never bothered.
Surprise!
Yeah, bonus games, which sounds like they run terribly. So yeah. I'm very curious because like they have MechWarrior 2 31st Century Battle, I think it's called, but it's the PlayStation version on here, not the PC one. PlayStation, which is very interesting. John, my youngest, pointed that out. He's like, yeah, apparently they added the PlayStation one to Xbox. And I was like, what are you talking about? And like, I want to know if Zork is having problems, and if I can't run Atari 2600 games correctly, this has failed. So we will find out. Because it's just, I don't want AI scaling for stuff. Like I used to be, people were going to use it for movies, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Maybe that'll bring back movies and make them look better. No, it's made them look a lot worse. I found out my 4K version of Terminator 2 is basically shit because of the AI scaling. And as soon as I started noticing that, there's things going on in the backgrounds and how things are rendered out that just looks, once you see them, you can't unsee them. It like ruins the movie for me. So I'm trying to find a Blu-ray copy just because it's better.
I think the problem with it is that they like AI is a tool. Like we've talked about this before. It's a tool. And just like any tool, you got to utilize it properly. Like if I try to cut a piece of wood and I don't, cut it in a straight line or whatever, it looks like shit. Like, so
if that tool is a hammer and you use it for everything, including trying to cut that wood.
Yeah. So it's like, it can be used, like you can use AI to like do some of this stuff. Sure. Use it properly. Like have people actually, utilize it properly. So that way it actually does its job, like does the thing it's supposed to do. But the problem is that a lot of companies see it as like this magic pill that they can just insert and it'll do all the work for them. And they don't need to hire people to actually like, do this properly.
Yep. But Rachel, I have to ask, how in God's name do you fuck up a text adventure like Zork? Like how? It's just text. That's it.
Maybe the way it was, the way it was built, the coding behind it, and if they're using AI tools, that just there's a weird. Maybe there's a language barrier.
A language barrier.
Maybe the AI doesn't actually know how to read.
It's very possible.
You never taught me how to read.
It's like, hi, I'm Jared. I'm 19 and I never learned how to read.
Oh, man. So it's interesting that Microsoft is doing this with bringing back the retro games. And I'm intrigued by what other Blizzard and Activision games they could bring back. But just like the monkey's paw wish for this, for like, we're seeing how they're doing it. And I am very worried. So only the future will tell. But keep your physical games, people, because you cannot trust that they will bring them back digitally remotely close to correctly. All right, let's talk about some Smash Brothers dating. So SmashTogether, a fan-made Smash Brothers dating app, has been shut down before it started via cease and desist notice.
Shocker.
Did either of you read up about this at all before the show?
No, but they chose a very interesting name to start off with.
So the app was supposed to be an open beta May 15th with the idea that you would sign up, put your Smash Brothers information in, and it would go between the Smash Brothers community of people on there, assigning your characters together to basically smash. And shocking to no one. They got a cease and desist. Most likely they won't say who did it. It's Nintendo. I mean, come on.
Ninjas found them.
Well, I mean, Rachel, I know you're very familiar with IP and copyright law. So for this app, just straight up use Nintendo's direct art of all the Smash Brothers characters, sound effects, fonts, UI design, music, actual names, all in this. And everyone's like, why would Nintendo shut down this app when the Smash Brothers community has had a terrible history of people doing things in bed they should not be doing to each other? So let's just tie dating to it. Floor is yours, Rachel. She's getting ready to say some shit.
Okay. So,
Let him have it,
my
Rachel.
little legal hat here. Here's the thing. If this was made for a class project, in a college setting or a high school setting, that you were then doing it for a grade and sharing it with your classmates or whatever, if it was made in a non-profitable setting of that kind, where they literally could not put it out anywhere,
education.
Nintendo would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
Would have been actually like 100% fine with it. But the moment you try to put it out on an app store or anywhere else, or like, do things like an open beta and stuff like that, calling for things like that, Nintendo's going to find you and they're going to come for your bum. And it's not going to be fun for you. So just literally don't mess with them. Don't do it.
How did they think this would work and be a good idea? That's
because
what I want to know.
it's made by I don't know, Smash Bros. It's made by Smash Bros. Who don't, I don't know, maybe they're uneducated or they don't care. They don't understand how copyright law works. International copyright law, for one thing. They don't understand how intellectual property works. Like, intellectual property is like a big freaking deal, guys. It's like you cannot touch it. Copyright is very important. Like, and it's one of those things that, like, if you're doing, there are certain other legal things that allow you to do stuff like with some creative license using and IP, like the characters that are intellectual property. That's
fair
why
use, things like that.
Fair use, that kind of thing. That's why review videos are fine. That's why streaming most Nintendo games, like via Twitch and stuff like that, is fine. There are some companies out there, Disney, who don't care about fair use. Like, and when I mean they don't care about fair use, is that they like, for example, trying to string Kingdom Hearts. You can't do it because it's filled with Disney music, and they don't like that. It doesn't matter if it's, free marketing for them. Don't matter. They don't give a dang. If their crap's in it, they don't want it being put out there.
I kind of wonder, and I'm not defending, I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts on that. I wonder if that is caught up just in, like, they're trying to stop people from streaming their movies and other stuff. If that's getting tangled in like automatic services, hearing the music or seeing it. And
yes, that is part of it. That is 100% part of it. They have, they much like Nintendo, they are very, very, like, tight on the leash of any and all of their intellectual property. And it's that's why I always tell people, if you're doing anything, the two people you should not mess with is Disney and Nintendo. Don't do it. Just forget it. Quit while you're ahead.
So another question I have, I kind of wonder a lot of when people are doing this, are they? Maybe they're not that stupid that they're just doing this thinking nothing happens. I kind of wonder if sometimes they're doing it on purpose to get the attention, to get the news coverage that, oh, we tried to make this and Nintendo came and took us down, or Disney came and took us down. Now we're going to rebrand it and try and bring it back, but they have that notoriety and the articles about it. Like, it's kind of like an attention grab. You know, they have the whole saying of, no, any publicity isn't bad. There's no bad publicity or something like that. I kind of wonder if they're using it as like because it can't be this dumb. Maybe it's just an attention seeking thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think a lot of these people are dumb. I think they know what they're doing.
Just kind of.
I think some of them are, but I don't think
I
all
get
of them are.
Yeah.
I think you have a point there where they're trying to get it's for the clicks, but it makes you wonder. You got this media attention that your fan-made Smash Bros dating app is not going to happen. Now, are you hoping to get they've been issued a cease and desist, which a lot of times those don't go anywhere. A lot of times, like monetarily, they're not
Right.
it's not gonna affect them negatively monetarily. But it is going to be like, hey, their name's going to be attached. Like, hey, we got a C&D from Nintendo. Some people take that as a badge of honor. Some people think it's like an award.
Right. Because I wonder, so the name SmashTogether, that they could keep. Nintendo's not going to own the rights to those words together, I don't think. So they could still maintain the app name, change the art, change the other stuff, and kind of tweak it to be different enough. I don't know what extent that would be. I'm sure you've seen a lot of companies that, knock off things or do stuff and kind of skirt by the legal limits and then come back with that, along with the fact that, hey, here's this dating app we're trying to make that Nintendo tried to take down, and we're going to fight them and keep going. I kind of have a feeling we're going to hear about this again in a couple of months or something with a rebrand, just feels like they're going to push for that.
Oh yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. That's a weird one. All right, let's go into our last story for the night. So, Stellar Blade developer Shift Up has stated that they are trying to work with Sony after the PC release of their game was banned in over 100 countries. They stated that they are, quote, doing our best to resolve most of it as soon as possible, and then went on to state that PSN connection is entirely optional and never required. So part of this stems from the fact that because it's optional to put PlayStation Network in there, Sony has basically banned the game from over 100 countries, which we saw recently happen with Helldivers 2 for its PC release as well. So it's kind of making people wonder, like, is Sony kind of, they've implied from people off record of like, maybe this is Sony punishing them for releasing the game off of the PS5, which would be kind of weird. It's also going to have the de novo DRM, but claims it will not affect the frame rate. But I don't think Sony's probably going to make them have to do that, because the other PlayStation releases on PC don't have that at all. Like Last of Us Part 2, Helldivers 2, don't have it. So we'll see how that goes. Arrowhead, the developers of Helldivers 1 and 2, have stated recently that they are moving away from Sony as publisher for their next title, possibly because of what happened with Sony after the forced PlayStation Network integration that happened, a while back. But then they retracted it, making it where you didn't have to be on PlayStation Network, but then still kept it banned in almost 140 countries. So those people that were playing it now cannot. So it's kind of a weird thing. Sony seems to be kind of shooting themselves in the foot with the PC releases, and some publishers are not happy about it. Square has ended a lot of their exclusivity stuff, so we're starting to see Final Fantasy VII's remake and all that stuff go to other systems.
Mm-hmm.
More games are being announced to be coming day and date with other consoles, not as a PlayStation only thing, because they did finally admit they lost a lot of money keeping it just on PlayStation. Like, it sold okay, but not enough to cover what they needed. And then there was also some stuff that had leaked out, because I didn't put it on here because it was a smaller news story, still kind of being hinted at, but the next Xbox may have Steam integration with it, which if you could use Steam on an Xbox, you could technically play PlayStation games on there through Steam, which then Sony announced that they can block what hardware plays their games. So even if you buy it on Steam and this device can act as a Steam machine, Sony can go, no, you're not allowed to play it on an Xbox. You can play it on a computer or, this handheld, but not on an Xbox, which is just kind of petty.
That is very petty.
I guess they want to get around it or something, but I don't know. Sony's gotten kind of weird, I think, with their publishing recently. And I'm wondering if Stellar Blade's kind of another victim of that. I still don't get this whole PlayStation Network requirement, because even for Xbox Live, signing with Xbox, they've tried to make that optional in a lot of stuff recently. I know it's been required before, just like PlayStation Network. But there's been games where, like, hey, if you do sign on an Xbox, it enables like cross-play and some your game saves can move around, stuff like that. So you get a benefit from it. But if you can't or don't want to, you don't have to, which makes it available for sale in more places. So,
is there countries where Xbox Live's not available? Like you can't have an Xbox account?
I'm sure there are. I mean, there's countries that don't allow for external like connections like that. I'm sure North Korea can't use it.
I guess there's like a couple obvious ones, but then I'm just thinking to myself, like,
I don't know. I'm looking just to see, just as a quick little, because they do have supported countries and regions is a list on Xbox's website. So you can go in here and kind of look and see which ones are allowed, which ones are not. Looks like they got a pretty good list. So you can click on each one and find out what's allowed and what's not. So like Uruguay, Xbox consoles are not available. They just can't be sold there, apparently. I just picked a country at random, and Uruguay is the one I hit.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's a shipping issue or when it gets to international shipping for stuff, I'm not even getting into that. There's so much crap. I mean, good Lord, you're all the way down in New Zealand. Trying to get stuff down there is a pain.
Not as bad as some of these other places, apparently, though. But
yeah.
So this was published by Sony. Stellar Blade was published by Sony, right?
I think they were the publishers for it. Yes.
Okay, so I guess, yeah, it's just Sony being Sony. And like they can do what they're doing, I guess, but
yeah, it's a weird one.
Because without Sony's money, this game probably wouldn't exist, right? Like, in theory.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know the full development history behind it, but it could feel almost like a Bayonetta style. Without Nintendo's money, we would not have had the last couple of Bayonetta games, because Sega just kind of dropped it. And Nintendo picked it up, paid the money, and now it is a Switch and Switch IP at this point. Which, hey, I would not mind an update for Bayonetta on Switch 2. That'd be great. Have it run even better.
I'm curious to see what Arrowhead does with their new game, because I'm assuming they're working on something new.
Well, they said they are, but that means it does have a possibility it could come to Xbox as well, because it won't be. They don't want to have Sony as a publishing house anymore, because of what happened with Helldivers, where they just kind of screwed the pooch. Because they had, I remember when Helldivers 2 came out, it was like a phenomenon. So many people were playing it.
Yeah.
And as soon as Sony forced their way in, it just kind of crashed the whole thing. Like it led to all the problems. And then when they finally backed out, it was like, all right, the damage was done. You can't uncrash that car. And you can fix it a little bit, but you're still going to have that broken fender and some other problems. And people just kind of fell off with it.
Yeah, we're definitely in the, so like, as I've said before, it's all cyclical. And right now, Sony, we're in the time now where we're seeing Sony go back into that, like, where they're just hubris, like, to the nines. Yeah. And it's going to take them, crashing and burning pretty hard. And then they'll come around and we're going to be like, oh, we fucking love you guys. Like, we're totally for the consumer. We're not anti-consumer at all. And then people will love them again.
Sony and Nintendo are both kind of in that right now, back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, Nintendo's gotten kind of bad about it all of a sudden. And you're just like, oh, please, like, pump the brakes.
And Microsoft has just gotten crazy and weird. Like
Microsoft's
they're not even
like
trying to come back. They're just wrecking it more.
Yeah, Microsoft's had like this weird one where like instead of this circle, they just like decided to go on drive off this way. They're off the rails.
Yeah, they're doing the circle, but the loop wasn't complete. So at this point, they've just stopped and they just started flying off the cliff.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I don't know.
I think we're going to have one more run of Xbox hardware, and they're going to go third party, just straight up. I think that's what's going to be happening.
You think so?
They're drastically pushing towards that. Like, and I get that argument all the time. We talked about it earlier, people talking about like, with Warhammer, it's not coming to PlayStation. They're losing their shit. But like, that's the biggest thing. And no, Rachel, I'm not trying to poke at you or anything about the Sony thing here, but because every time I say it, you look at me.
I'm not looking at you. I know Sony is dumb, but I still prefer their consoles just because I like their UI better, and Xbox confuses me.
That's fair. But like the biggest argument I get from people about this is the fact they're like, well, PlayStation's selling better. Of course they should get all the games, but they have that weird kind of just change of reality where like, well, it's good that games are coming to us, but we don't want the games going anywhere else. And it's really weird with fanboys doing that. It's even weirder with the company kind of doing it right now. Because like we talked about before, and it's still ongoing, most of the highest selling PlayStation games right now are all from Microsoft.
Yeah.
It's all their games, which is just weird.
It feels so oddly wrong. Funny, but it's weird. Yeah.
Well, we all remember. Okay, I know you guys are younger, but like the first time you see the Sega logo when it popped up on the GameCube felt wrong when I first saw it. Because I think it was like Sonic Adventure or something, and I was like, what the hell? Why is this here? It didn't feel as bad on Xbox, oddly enough, because it was like, all right, Xbox is new. Okay, so, Sega's kind of moving over with them. But the rivalry with Nintendo and Sega, seeing that just kind of threw me off. But I don't know. Worked out well. All right, let's go to the speed run. So, sad bit of news. The Cheers star who played Norm and the inspiration behind Deep Space Nine's Morn character, George Wendt, passed away recently. Which I've been seeing some great collections of his absolutely hilarious lines when he would come into the bar at Cheers and the things he would say before getting a beer. And I remember watching those as a kid. My parents always loved watching Cheers. And they're even funnier now that I'm older and I get the jokes more. Because as a kid, you're just like, oh, it's funny. The guy wants to drink something. And now I hear it and I'm going, oh, okay. No, his life was miserable. Like he just wants to get away, have a drink and sit down. So I saw like the Cheers bar, the actual one, I think in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
They had his picture. They had like a book people were signing and they had just a mug of beer just sitting there for him.
That's great.
Thought that was sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Completely 180ing the news here. Fortnite has returned to iOS after a long and drawn out legal battle. So all you kids can now start taking your iPads and your phones or your parents' phones and putting Fortnite back on it.
What was the decision on that whole thing? Actually, I'm oddly curious.
So
I know this is the speed run, but I'm just actually curious.
No, you're fine.
Piqued my curiosity.
Apple was forced; they had to allow third-party marketplaces and stores without taking the money from people, because that was the biggest thing. Is like Fortnite wanted to let you buy their money or their currency from Epic directly in the app and bypass
the fees.
Right, or because you could buy it in the app, or you could go to the Epic store and do it. And Apple, almost said Sony, Apple said no, and that led to the whole fight where they banned it. So it's finally back. So enjoy, I guess. Nintendo added 4 new Game Boy games to the Nintendo Switch Online, which included Gradius Interstellar Assault, Kirby's Star Stacker, Survival Kids, and Sword of Hope. Sword of Hope is an interesting RPG I want to kind of mess around with. Gradius is just a fun shooter. Kirby's Star Stacker I have a lot of fun with, but it's one of those that's like, it really does play better. I wish they would allow either Game Boy Color mode, or if they could implement the Super Game Boy somehow. It really benefited from that color, but who knows. Playtonic, developers behind Yooka-Laylee series, has been hit with layoffs. with some recent employees pointing more towards a mess in the background, or as Rachel likes to put it,
corporate greed.
Yes, corporate greed.
Yeah. So Playtonic is having problems. This was made from a lot of the guys from Rare that used to do Banjo-Kazooie and things like that, which is why Ukulele was so familiar in that style. Chase, this is a bit of good news for you. Switch 2 will officially support just plugging in a standard mouse to use if you want to use mouse controls, but don't want to use a Joy-Con 2. No word on how this will affect your controls, though, as you would be missing buttons and the sticks as well. We also don't know if there's a compatibility thing, but I'm pretty sure if it's an optical mouse, it's just a damn optical mouse. It's pretty standard.
I imagine this is more for games probably like maybe Civ 7 and, some games where they've already, or I guess if developers make it available for that, probably. Like obviously you wouldn't be able to use this for like, what is that one, that Dragon Drive or whatever, like something like that. You wouldn't be able to do that for.
Yeah, because you would need to be able to pick up the controller and use the motion for shooting and stuff like that, because that's the basketball side of it. So yeah, that wouldn't work. Someone was pointing out, like, if we get Call of Duty on here and we can use a mouse and the Joy-Con, like, it's over. We're just
yeah. But to be fair, I'm actually, this is like a big hope for me, being as like, because I've just talked about this before, is I'm hoping that the Switch 2 allowing this and then having it also natively with the Joy-Con and stuff, I'm hoping that this actually just opens it up just for console gaming in general now, like, because people want to take advantage of the Switch, and
that would be nice, because every Joy-Con can use it. I know not every game would support it directly because you have the Pro Controller and stuff like that, which doesn't have it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the first time it's actually included. Every controller that comes with the system natively has that mouse function. So who knows? Lastly, rumors are kicking up about a Nintendo Direct the week of the Switch 2 launch or the week after that will show more of what is coming as the system. A surprisingly small amount of titles are currently known or dated beyond launch. We know a couple of Switch 1 titles, a few Switch 2 that are extended out, but it's very light. Like, we still don't, I don't know how, we don't know when Metroid Prime 4 is coming out. Like, what the hell, guys? You've shown this game multiple times. We've seen it on Switch. We've seen it on Switch 2. We've seen it running. We only know it's coming out this year. That's all we know. Like, just give me a date. I will give you money. Just give me a date.
Shut up and take my money.
I'm already, like, I know I'm the problem. I'm buying this game twice. I'm going to get the Switch and the Switch 2 version separately, because it seems that's how they're going to be available. It would have been perfect if it had been one cartridge that does both. Whatever, fuck it. I'll pay you the money. I am that Nintendo whore. I don't care. I know what's wrong with me. Same reason I bought every damn amiibo, including the freaking cards. So, all right, let's jump into the big question for this week. So, as this is the last show we are recording before the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, I want to go through our final thoughts on the system, what we're excited for, worried about, confused by, or hopefully for. Also, maybe a final list of what we plan to get on launch day. Chase, sorry about that part. I thought Steven would be here too, so at least be three of us on that part. My bad. You will be looking on launch day going, you bastards.
That's all right.
Rachel, do you want to start us off with your thoughts on this?
Oh, man. Switch stuff. My goodness. Where to begin?
There's so much.
I'm going to be playing so much Mario Kart. That's all I know. That's all I know. That's it. I'm going to get it. And then the most frustrating thing for me is going to be how to ship Caleb his console.
Well, I mean, you still got to ship me a Indiana Jones hat and some other stuff. We'll just make it one big box and I'll get it to him.
Yeah, but I don't know how to ship that. If that makes sense.
Put the box in a bigger box and just pack stuff in there.
But it's got a battery in it. People are weird about shipping things with batteries. Okay, I know this. Yeah, because it's got a lithium battery in it. So I know all about that, having to ship out stuff.
I'll talk to our shipping guy at work and see what we have to do for our stuff. I'll let you know. Because we have to ship stuff with batteries in it all the time.
And that's all I know.
Yeah, because you don't know when your Nintendo Store accessories and all that stuff will come in. So like your GameCube controller and all that, you won't have those more than likely on launch day. So just Mario Kart, huh? That's all you're getting?
I mean, I'm not getting anything else on launch day because what else is there that is me? You know, like I don't want Yakuza.
Puyo Tetris 2, Sonic X Shadow Generations.
I have that.
But it's not, you can't enhance it. The actual better version for Switch 2 is a separate purchase.
But I don't want to buy it again.
Dumb. Yeah,
I want to buy it again.
I know. Sega's weird. That's what I said. Sega has been kind of weird about this shit lately. Because I would have just paid to do an upgrade or something, but they won't do it. You have to buy it again. And it's a key card release, which is almost worse because the original's on the damn cart. So... Chase, what about your thoughts on the Switch 2 before the launch? I know we messed with you about the fact you're not getting one right now, and I'm sorry, but I know you still got thoughts on it.
No, I mean, I'm like genuinely excited for it. Like after Chanel goes on her vacation, like we'll probably end up getting one probably for her because she uses hers a little bit more than I use mine. And then like work on down the line, but I'm excited for it. Like I think that, you know, because like the Switch was always like the little console that could, and now it's just like the Switch 2 is just, you know, like better in every way. And I've already talked about a little bit, so I won't ramble on more about. I'm excited with the mouse controls, hoping that it kind of makes it more mainstream for console players, like getting access to it.
Oh, I 100% agree with that, and I'm hoping that, as you said, I hope we get a resurgent in point and click adventure games, because there are point and click games on the Switch, but they just don't. It's not the same charm as it is.
I want a Monkey Island collection.
Oh my God, Jeremy! I would cry. I would be on the ground right now if they did that. I would be weeping. Like,
you could be on the go and just using the touchscreen if you want, or you can be playing somewhere with a mouse and have actual click controls. Or
can you imagine having your little, you know, your Switch on your little, like, on your table, and you have it on with this little thing while playing in a hotel, like eating breakfast?
The beauty of it, you could just use the touchscreen if you're playing it portably, and just that would work just as well for a lot of stuff. But go ahead, Chase. Sorry.
No. I mean, that's exactly what I'm like referring to. Like I think that the popularity of it, and I think like point and click, I think is going to get a resurgence because of it. And like I said, I just hope that maybe more developers are like, oh yeah, we should make this as an option.
That's a thing I just considered, is like, you said you can plug any standard mouse into it and it works.
We don't know if it's any, but yeah, you can use them. Yeah.
Now, does that mean that also includes wireless mice with Bluetooth dongles? Like, because some of them have
that on one now too.
Yeah, because I think USB-C. They do. I have a wireless mouse with a USB-C. Thing. So
because you can plug stuff into the dock for the original Switch and it works fine, or you can get an adapter and change it to USB-C for the single port.
Mm-hmm.
But this one will have the extra port on the top, so you can run accessories off of it even on tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
While still
think of all the options, Chase. Oh my God.
No.
So, you know, for me, I am of course stupidly excited for the Switch 2. We've been counting down the days. I have talked, like, originally my boys were both like, hey, we're not going to get the Switch 2. We're going to wait. It's expensive. And they kept hearing me ramble about it. And they're just like, damn it, I don't want to miss it. So they've ordered them. So we're going to have 3 Switches in this house day one. So Mario Kart will be a bloodshed, both online and local multiplayer. No one is family. No one is friend. All are foes.
I have to decide who I'm going to play as.
You will play as last place if I'm playing.
Fuck off. Rosalina sweeps her way to the top, okay?
That
Like, She is such a bitch. Like literally, there. And did I tell you guys where that phrase came from? That thing sleeps her way to the top.
No, go for it.
So there was an animation in the
God.
Wii U version of the game where she looks like she's kind of like dozing off, right? And it only would do this, like, you know how sometimes they would do like the thing where the characters were in the background when the award thing went off, blah blah blah. And if Rosalina was ever in the background, she looked like she was asleep, like she was bored, because she's better than everyone else. Okay. And so I would always, me and my buddy Mike, one of us would always play as Rosalina. And we'd just be like, hell yeah, Rosalina, sleeping her way to the top. And every single time I play that and I say that, and nobody understands the joke, of course, because they weren't there when we saw this. They don't get the joke because it's an inside joke from a group of friends that is up there in Panama City. Lord. Like now, but it's just so ingrained in me as a person that that's just what I say.
God. So I'm kind of curious, like, so apparently I guess Rosalina is your main for Smash, or for
absolutely
Mario Kart. Sorry. Chase, what about you? Who's your go-to for Mario Kart if they're available? I know for me it's Lackey 2. It's always Lackey 2.
Bowser and Shy Guy.
Okay, that's a good set. So yeah, Mario Kart, we're going to be playing that. I know all three of us are getting Yakuza 0, so we'll be playing multiplayer here at home as well as online with Steven and them. I'm picking up Street Fighter 6, which gives me all the DLC characters. It does have full crossplay. I've already got a good fight stick for the Switch that'll work on it, so I'm already ready to go for that. So I'll be looking forward to playing that online. And then, of course, I had to get Cyberpunk on there. So Cyberpunk and Yakuza are already completely paid off. So no matter what, I'm getting those two. I've got a Pro Controller, a camera, memory card, and some of the other accessories that I'm getting that day as well. All the amiibo that are coming in. The controller I ordered from online, so I'll be getting that later for the GameCube stuff.
I'm getting both cameras.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the visual difference with the 480p one.
So here's the thing. I talked to somebody that is, a person who works at a place.
Right.
And he had not heard about the 480p thing. Yeah. That was his first time hearing that. And he goes,
really? Because it was confirmed.
He goes, he's like, I'd take that with a grain of salt. He's like, it might be confirmed or something, but I don't know.
It is on their actual spec sheet. They say it is a 480p camera. That's straight from Hori, who's making it. And I was like, oh, okay. At least they're honest about it. I mean, that's their spec sheet, and their representative said it was 480p. So I was like,
why would they do that though? Like
it probably supports a range of cameras, and some people may just want the cute little cheaper ones. Like, think about like all the weird accessories that companies made over the years that you're like, oh, that's kind of neat. I like how it looks. And you find out, oh, but this thing is shitty. Like, that microphone's all flashy with colors on it, but it sounds terrible.
I mean, but why would you a 720 is not that much more expensive. Like
whatever chips they had available. It might have just been webcams they had, because they're also releasing a normal version of the exact same camera that is not Piranha Plant themed, still 480p. So they literally have a bunch of them to sell through. They
went in their warehouse and went, what cameras do we have?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably what happened. The camera I'm on right now. I want to test and see if it works. It's USB-C. It's high quality. I want to see how it works, but I'm also getting the official Nintendo one. So I'm just curious.
I think I'm getting that one too. And the GameCube controller and all that. But the only game I'm getting is Mario Kart, which is that month. But then next month I'll be playing Donkey Kong like there's no tomorrow.
Well, remember, day one, the GameCube games are on there. So
I'm going to be playing those. I'm going to be playing some F-Zero. I'll tell you that.
It's going to be fun for online. We're going to have the Nintendo Switch. Since we all have Nintendo Switch Online, you also get the free updates to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to the full 4K or whatever, the enhanced versions. You get those automatically.
Does my save data, is that cross?
Not only is it crossover, but it adds a second save, so you can start a new game without deleting your old one now. for both games. They've added that in for the new versions.
Oh, Nintendo! I want to kiss you on the mouth. Maybe I'll do that later. I'll save that for after Donkey Kong. So,
but you'll at least have that available to mess around with on day one as well.
That'll be
and
fun.
Then they did confirm. Remember the 11 games we talked about that are getting updates for free? Mm-hmm. That is also launch day.
Well, so isn't that nice?
So if you have any of those games, you can immediately start messing with those that day too. So, and we'll be testing. Like I've got 400 something games. I'll be going through testing what works, what doesn't, just for general startup. At least I'm not going to play all of them. I don't have that much of a life available to me to do all that again. So, I'm excited for that. Like I said, we talked about, you guys wanted mouse controls for, strategy games and things like that. I kind of also hope we do get more strategy games. Like I would love to see StarCraft come to Nintendo again, but
turn-based and real time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had StarCraft 64, which amazingly worked well it shouldn't have. They did something right with those controls. I don't know what they did, but it worked. But I would love to see a full version of something like that come back, which would be kind of cool.
Hey, Nintendo, give me a new Tactics Ogre, damn it.
One with mouse controls. They did do a Tactics Ogre recently. I actually saw it for sale on Switch.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, shit, it's a new Tactics Ogre.
Shit.
It got a physical release too.
It's
Tactics Ogre.
Damn, yeah. I totally missed that. I feel bad now.
Yeah, because I wanted to get that one.
The other thing I just thought about, actually, like the one benefit to the guy that isn't getting one day one.
I
actually don't kind of mind waiting because special edition consoles.
True.
And
my worry is the price increase if that ends up happening.
Yeah, that might be a bit.
Price increase? What's a price increase? The console's already $900 here, so or 800.
Yeah, New Zealand is expensive. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, but I'm a Fire Emblem whore, so give me that Fire Emblem Special Edition console, and
that's fair. I just bought a 2DS because it's Zelda themed. I have almost every one of these. I will buy Zelda and I will buy Metroid. Thankfully, they've only ever done like one or two Metroid, and that's it. So that's at least cheaper. But we shall see. So yeah, we're all excited for the Switch 2. It's going to be kind of just a crazy release once everything comes out, and I want to get it in my hands because I think it's going to be kind of, and this is a weird one to explain, kind of like how I got my car, where I bought it without actually physically seeing it. It's the first time I ever did that because it was the first run of the Hyundai electric vehicles. And I did not quite grasp in my head the actual size of it, how much larger it was, until we were looking at the official measurements of it. And then I was like, I wonder. And I looked at my wife's car and realized my car is 2 feet longer than hers. And it finally clicked. Holy shit, this thing is huge. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen with the Switch 2, because we see it and our brain makes it Switch sized. But when we get it and we realize it's bigger than a Steam Deck, it's big. Like
it's chunky.
Yeah, but it's still thin. That's what's crazy. It's still the same thin thickness of it. So
what is that one meme where they just keep making things wider and wider and wider?
I don't know, but that sounds funny.
That.
But hey, at least the Joy-Cons will fit in your hand better because they'll be bigger.
Yes, that too.
We still don't know about what the sticks are made from. I'm looking forward to like iFixit or somebody breaking this thing down because they'll do that day one, which is fine. So that's kind of a question I have. We're not going to get Hall Effect sticks, I'm pretty damn sure of, but I'm hoping Nintendo has done something to make it where they don't drift. Because that was the biggest problem. And my only concern is like Sony and Microsoft haven't solved that either. I've had controllers break and drift on both of those, and they just expect you to get another one, which kind of sucks. So hopefully Nintendo's kind of solved that one. But yeah, we'll come back with this on our next little extra quarter on the launch day for Switch 2 and kind of give our first thoughts. Rachel, Steven, and I, and if we get anybody else to join us.
What day of the week is that?
It comes out the night of the 4th. And then, so that'll be Thursday the 5th.
Oh, that's board game night, Jeremy.
Oh, Rachel, you can skip it.
No.
Okay, we'll get your thoughts on it later. We'll figure. Maybe we can push it to Friday or something. I just didn't want to skip the actual show that week, but I wanted to do something for the launch.
Oh,
day.
and we can't do something on the 7th. Okay.
On the
Saturday.
I mean, we might be able to. We can kind of talk about it and then have the show. We can do either one. We'll figure it out. We'll do something, damn it. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap that up. All right. So you can find the podcast in audio form wherever you listen to your shows, and the video version over on YouTube at our channel, Zenspath COM or Zenspath.com. Both can easily be found over on Zenspath.com/podcast as well. And then leave us a review if you can to help the show grow. Like and share the show with others. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Tell us how you feel about the show. Maybe answer this week's the big question. You know, what games, accessories, and so forth are you getting with the Switch 2? Are you getting a Switch 2? What are you excited about, nervous about, or kind of wondering? And kind of go from there. Or maybe what you're getting on launch day as well. And then you can talk to us directly over on Discord. Is the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings over at bit.ly/Zenspath Discord, or you can find the link over at Zenspath.com as well. All right. I've been your host, Jeremy Powers. Thank you once again, Rachel and Chase. This has been episode 174 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Screw you, buddy.